Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phono with Dr. Khaled Saad, Prehistory Department Manager and Tourism Expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Good morning.
Well, Dr. Saad, now with the we are expecting very soon the formal inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum. Tell us in what stage until now we have reached, and also President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have instructed yesterday accurate focus on the Grand Egyptian Museum as an integrated system that reflects capability of organization and also of management. As the President have held a meeting with the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and number of ministers who are concerned with the inauguration and the final work and touches with the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Actually, in the plan of the Supreme Council of Antiquities from 8 years ago, to prepare to plan a new museum of every city. But the museum in the city different between the old museum to prepare to new museum, and the difference between the Grand Museum in the Giza Plateau. The Grand Museum in Giza Plateau is one of the first biggest museum of all the world, and the Ministry of Tourism and the Governor, it is very important to the country to try to open this museum as a wonderful museum of all the world. So President Sisi give orders to the governor to give all the support to try to view all the world, the museum, the Grand Museum will be the first important museum of all the world. This is Egypt, really Egypt. And the Supreme Council of Antiquities try to give the support money to finish the date or the plan date until to opening this museum in the future, Bismillah.
Yes, sir. So, as Dr. Saad, I was also would like to that you give us an idea about President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's following up the latest and the final touches with the ministers, as he held a meeting yesterday with Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and number of ministers and concerned officials who are following up on the work of taking place in the gem or the Grand Egyptian Museum, and the President have ordered to continue raising the efficiency of the museum's geographic location and also achieving an integration and connection with the pyramids area. So give us an idea about this, please.
The governor tried to finish the buffer zone area around the museum. Yes. Because it is very important to the tourism ways.
Yes.
And the governor tried to put a new plan from the tourism.
Yes.
Until to come in the airport, until to go to the hotels, to go to the pyramids, to go to the museum and another places.
Yes. So Dr. Saad, yes. Dr. Saad, how does the area around the Grand Egyptian Museum look like? Is it all full of monuments, or some also some buildings and streets that the government have been restoring it in order to cope with the Grand Egyptian Museum?
This is the area around the museum, not from the museum only. Yes. But this is the idea of new area around the environment area to try to build buffer zone area around the museum to finish the roots, the lights, the يعني many
Yes.
things, and we have much many cooperation between the governor and the Supreme Council of Antiquities until finish this area.
Yes. So it's not just normal streets or buildings or houses around the Grand Egyptian Museum. The whole area has been built or restored in order to cope with the Grand Egyptian Museum and to be, as you've just mentioned, an area coping with the importance of the Grand Egyptian Museum.
All this area, all the building which will be removed, it's scientific work,
Yes.
not like as in the past. It's scientific work from many famous engineers help us to prepare the area around the museum. Not only the museum and not only the pyramids, all the area of street pyramids, Faisal street,
Street. Yes.
pyramids street, around the Mansouriya canal, all this area, not only around the Egyptian Museum.
Yes. So, Dr. Saad, the Grand Egyptian Museum, you've just mentioned that it would be the most important museum in the world. And it's also, we all know that it's the biggest of its kind, with the more than 50,000 or a large number of pieces that it gathers or encompasses. Give us an idea about the Grand Egyptian Museum as it's Egypt's gift to the world.
What is the difference between the old Egyptian museum in Tahrir Square and the new Egyptian in Giza Plateau? The difference between the two museums, the new museum, the Grand Museum, is the first biggest museum of all the world, because this is the first museum have one collection for one culture, one collection for one
Yes.
culture. All the pieces, all the antiquities inside the new Egyptian museum, only for the Egyptian museum, for the Egyptian history, for the Egyptian culture. Understand? This is the difference between the Grand Museum and another. The second, the Tutankhamun pieces. It is
Yes.
the famous of all the world.
Of course.
The Tanis, the golden Tanis pieces is very famous of the world. One of important pieces of all the world, like as the antiquities of Merim Beteh, the antiquities of Ramses II, many kinds. The prehistoric antiquities is very important of all the world.
Yes.
The pre-dynasty antiquities is very important to the world.
Yes.
All these pieces inside the new museum in Giza Plateau.
Yes, of course. The Tutankhamun pieces, which could exceed the 5,000 pieces, is one of the very important pieces that is going to be shown in the Grand Egyptian Museum, with the importance of Tutankhamun's, of course, golden mask. The whole world is going crazy with the Tutankhamun's, the young king, despite that Egypt has, of course, several monuments and several statues, of course, famous with its Egyptian, old Egyptian civilization. But why exactly does all the world are going after, and even when there was exhibitions showing the pieces of Tutankhamun's in London and in Paris and in the United States of America, before it toured the world and come back to Egypt to stay forever in the Grand Egyptian Museum?
Actually, not only Tutankhamun collection, because the magic inside the pieces of Tutankhamun is
Yes.
wonderful of all the world. But not Tutankhamun collection only. We have another golden, very famous of all the world for the Isoscenes first, the king in San Hagar is like as the Tutankhamun collection, and the golden pieces. The golden pieces is very famous of all the world, from the mom of Khufu, Hetep Heres,
Yes.
and until the end of the history of Pharaonic period.
Yes.
We have many incredible pieces of all of the ancient Egyptian history in ancient Egyptian museum, not found like this of all the world, of all the museum in the world.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Dr. Saad, we hear that there's a say, or analysts have said that if you stand in front of any statue in the Grand Egyptian Museum, if you stand in front of only for 1 minute, it would take you 1 month to finish and to watch and see the whole museum. What's your comment on this?
Really, when you show, when you stop, you have some relation between the human and the statue.
Yes.
Some foreign speak with us about how when you go to the Egyptian Museum, how to build some relation between the human and the statues, between the pieces, relation, like as the statues speak with the foreign.
Yes.
Give the foreign, gives the tourism very important talent of the ancient Egyptian.
Yes.
Give him like as the story of the magic, like as the story of the writing, some many kind of relation between the statue and the tourism inside the museum. I've been inside the museum.
Yes, yes, yes. And even it's interesting also for the Egyptians, not only for the foreigners, because, for example, Egyptians have, when the statue of Ramses II was, before it was delivered to or transferred to the Grand Egyptian Museum, it was in the Ramses Square, and most of the Egyptians used to go there and to watch the statue and to stay for hours looking to the statues, and they are not bored. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and your valuable information. Thank you, Dr. Khaled Saad, Prehistory Department Manager, Tourism Expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.
سلمولي على مصر، سلمولي سلمولي على الحبايب وبعتولي، سلمولي على مصر، سلمولي سلمولي على الحبايب وبعتولي. سلام أمانة والنبي سلام أمانة، والشوق أمانة والنبي الشوق أمانة. سلام أمانة والنبي سلام أمانة، والشوق أمانة والنبي الشوق أمانة. سلمولي على الحبايب وبعتولي، سلمولي على مصر، سلمولي سلمولي على مصر، سلمولي سلمولي على الحبايب وبعتولي. وأمانة لما تفوتوا من جنب الحسين تجيبولي شوية من النور اللي على الصفين. وأمانة لما تفوتوا من جنب الحسين تجيبولي شوية من النور اللي على الصفين. خاني الخليل على يمينكم هدايا وحشاني، تبقوا تجيبولي توت عنخ المنقوش في الصواني. خاني الخليل على يمينكم هدايا وحشاني، تبقوا تجيبولي توت عنخ المنقوش في الصواني. وابقوا افتكروني من الصاغة بإسوارة لولي، سلمولي على مصر، سلمولي سلمولي على مصر. سلمولي سلمولي عالحبايب وحدوني سلمولي عالشوارع.
Welcome back. We are still talking about the Grand Egyptian Museum and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is following up the final touches before the inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone Mr. Ahmad Nicola, tourism expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Well, Mr. Nicola, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have instructed the accurate focus on the Grand Egyptian Museum, the GEM, as an integrated system that reflects capabilities of organization and management. And actually, the President gave his directives during a meeting yesterday with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and a number of ministers and concerned officials to follow up the final touches before the inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum. Please give us your comment.
Actually, the Grand Egyptian Museum is a totally new era of our travel industry in Egypt. It is the place where we will all be proud that we have in our country. And of course, the following up and the care that the President Sisi is giving to this project is making it even better in every aspect. Actually, one of the most important issues that the President was talking about is the surrounding area. Not only the museum. The museum itself is a piece of art. It's by itself is a place to visit, without even the issues and the monuments inside. The building itself, it's a state of art, and as I said, we're proud to have it. But having also the surrounding and having the instruction of making the path between the museum and the Great Pyramids to be dedicated to the travel, to the travelers, and to make it a place to visit by itself.
Yes.
Is very important, and we are all can't wait to see the grand opening.
Yes. Mr. Nicola, now what's would be the difference between the old museum in Tahrir, the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir, and the new one, the Grand Egyptian Museum about to be inaugurated?
Let's not forget that
Yes.
the old Egyptian Museum, the building by itself is a monument.
Yes.
This is over 100 years old, and the architecture is so unique and beautiful that will always remain as a landmark for Cairo and Egypt. And it will never be like empty place. Now, you know that we used to have monuments in the storage of the old museum, even more than those who is in display at the museum. So now we took part of it, and it will be displayed at the Grand Egyptian Museum, and still there will be a lot to see in the old museum at Tahrir Square. And what I've heard, that there is a plan for renovating the old museum, and that plan will start exactly after opening the new Grand Museum. We will start renovating the old museum and put the technology and the right display to match the advanced stage that we have now at the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Yes, the Grand Egyptian Museum with more than 50,000 pieces, what would be the most important collections there? Is it the collection of Tutankhamun with its golden mask that made the whole world go crazy with the young King Tut, of course? Give us an idea about the importance of the Tutankhamun collection.
Well, King Tut is the most known pharaoh
Yes.
around the world. Wherever you go, ask anybody, any common man walking in the street of Indonesia, you will find him he knows King Tut. Because he's the lucky young king whose tomb was preserved till it was discovered by Carter.
Yes.
Almost 100 years ago. So we will have the point of displaying King Tut belongings in the new museum is the way it will be displayed. Because there in the new museum we have the space and we have the technology, the lighting, the way to display it is far much better than how it was displayed in the old Tahrir Square Museum. So it will be much enjoyable to visit these monuments in the Grand Egyptian Museum, and it will have even a better way to see it and more explanation about each and every piece of it and the details of it and the meaning of it. So King Tut at the Grand Egyptian Museum will be something else.
Yes.
Will be another big story. And the points at the Grand Egyptian Museum is not only the displayed parts, it's also the areas where we have the 3D shows and where we have how do we preserve the old monuments. A lot of things, a lot of educational things will be at the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Yes. I thank you very much for your time and for your valuable information, Mr. Ahmed Nicola, tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, Cairo Local Time. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.